Hello, hello, hello. Welcome to XPat Chats Series 25. This week we'll be featuring Mina King, and this is a bright young lady who'll be sharing her story as an expat living in Ecuador. So I hope you all are in for a really great chat. We want this to be interactive, so feel free to ask any questions that you may have, and hopefully we get through them all before the end of the chat. So I'm just pasting Amina's details here so that you all can see her handle on Instagram and check out her YouTube channel, which I'll post in the replay. All right, Amina's on. Let's try to get her tagged in. I think it's coming through. It's a little slow. So while we wait for Amina's live to join in, I started Expat Chats back in May of 2020 as a platform to share stories of expats living abroad, and also to make sure that people who were aspiring expats could connect live with people, ask questions. And so we've been featuring different expats all over the world every week. Let me just try to get it tagged back in. 1 second. Having a little bit of technical difficulties. Let me try this one more time. Okay, it looks like Amina dropped off for a second, so maybe having technical difficulties. All right, there we go. Back on again. All right, I think we're good. There we go. Is it coming in? I may have to start this one over. No, I can't see Amina. I don't know why it's not coming through. All right, we'll try one more time. Amina, there we
Okay.
go.
Can you see
No
me
worries.
now?
Yes, I can see you now. All
Okay,
right.
perfect.
Sorry about that for anyone who's joined. Sometimes we have technical difficulties because the Wi-Fi service too isn't always the best in different areas. All right.
Yes.
So Amina, welcome, welcome, welcome. So excited to have you on. I know we just had a chance to connect for our prep call earlier this week, and I was like, I got to get you on ASAP. So thanks for joining. And sharing your story. You have a very inspiring story because you really just went for it. And I think you are the youngest person that I've had on XPat Chats. So very excited about that also. So if
Thank
you
you
want
so
to
much for
start off
having me.
and yeah, just start off by introducing yourself, letting us know where you're from and how your expat journey started.
So my name's Amina. Originally I was born in Atlantic City, New Jersey, but I moved here from Nevada, where I went to university. I went to school at the University of Nevada, Reno,
Mm-hmm.
and I lived in Las Vegas for a big portion of my life.
All right, awesome.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm 23 years old. I don't know.
Mm-hmm. So how did you, because you're pretty much right out of school, how did you find your experience? Like, how did you even decide that you wanted to go abroad in Ecuador of all places? Because that's not a popular expat destination. So when I saw Ecuador, I was like, how did she land on Ecuador? Just curious.
So actually, I would definitely say my whole experience started when I studied abroad last year. I studied abroad in Chiang Mai, Thailand, summer
Right.
of last year.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that definitely started my whole travel. You know, they say once you get the travel bug, you just want to keep
Yeah, you
going.
can't get rid of it.
So for me, yeah, studying abroad in Thailand was a big step. For me,
Mm-hmm.
I didn't even think studying abroad was going to be for me. I didn't have a passport. Not many people in my family really traveled.
Yeah.
So for me, it was really something that was out of touch, but I kind of made it obtainable in a way, I guess you could say.
Yeah.
Um,
How
so
did you,
yeah,
yeah, how did you find the study abroad opportunity? Was it something that your like school promoted? Did you go searching on your school's like study abroad? Do you have an internet site or something that you all looked at, that you looked at?
so the funny thing is, at the time I was working grave shift, taking like two like summer, like intensive courses, like all these different things. I
Mm-hmm.
remember going to my advisor, like, oh my gosh, I'm tired. I can't keep doing this. I'm not sleeping. And
Yeah.
it kind of, she brought it up to me almost like, you need a vacation. Like, I know you can't afford an actual vacation, but maybe you could
Yeah.
do something like this, which is
Uh-huh.
funny. But so then she connected me. I was actually really lucky. My school is the host university where USAC, University Study Abroad,
Okay.
I'm not going to try to say the other word, is hosted. So I went to go see them, and that's kind of how it started.
That is great. But you also have a YouTube channel. So were you already, did you start that before your study abroad or after?
I didn't start my YouTube till like 2 months ago, a month ago,
Oh
like when
no,
I
okay,
got
so it's pretty
here.
new. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
I
it's
checked it
pretty
out. It has
new.
some good content. I'll make sure to put the link in for the replay.
Thank
Yeah,
you so
awesome.
much.
Yeah. And so once you had your study abroad experience, what made you pick Ecuador over, and how did you find Ecuador opportunity versus going back to Thailand? Because that would have been familiar grounds to some degree.
That's a funny story. So basically, I studied abroad. I came back from studying abroad last year in about August. I went back to school. It was in my senior year of college,
Mm-hmm.
and the goal of at the time my goal was to go off and go to law school and just
Mm-hmm.
right after college. And I
Mm-hmm.
don't know, but this like just I just got really burnt out. I was like,
Mm-hmm.
I am tired. I can't keep doing this. Like
Mm-hmm.
so it kind of revolved around me like, okay, I'm going to take a year off and go to
Mm-hmm.
Thailand and I want to travel throughout Southeast Asia next year when I graduate. So that's
Okay.
honestly what I was doing. I was researching jobs in Thailand. I was trying to like go all these, like figure out all these different things.
Mm-hmm.
And then COVID hit.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Good old COVID
So that
interruption.
definitely turned the path of everything. Because before
Mm-hmm.
it was just a kind of like a wanting to see other places,
Yeah.
go meet new people, do all these different things.
Mm-hmm.
And then after COVID, George Floyd, all these different things, it turned
Yeah.
into like, get out. There's just
Yeah.
something in me that just kept saying, get out, get out, get out.
Yeah. Yeah.
And from about I think June or July, I woke up one day, weirdly enough, and I was just like, I can still make this happen. I can still go
Yes.
abroad. I can still leave.
You definitely make it happen still.
I was gonna go to Thailand, and
Mm-hmm.
then that didn't work out because of the border restrictions were so tight.
Mm-hmm.
So then I started looking at, okay, where else can I go?
Mm-hmm.
Luckily, I found Facebook group chats. No,
Yes.
Facebook groups. Those
Mm-hmm.
are really instrumental. YouTube and Facebook
Oh
groups were the
man.
biggest help for
So
me.
resourceful.
Yes.
Yeah.
Not only was I able to see like how people's lives were, because I was looking at so many places, because I was like,
Mm-hmm.
okay, where are they even allowing Americans? Because a couple months
Exactly.
ago, with a
Yes.
U.S. passport, you can go anywhere.
It changed overnight, and so it's like, where can I really go, and what are my
hmm
options? Yeah.
Yeah. So at first, I was looking at Mexico.
Mm-hmm.
Someone has become a great friend of mine. She actually sent me a couple of posts. I originally posted on Blacksit, which is
Mm-hmm.
Black African Americans looking to leave the United States.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
And she was like, here's a couple Facebook groups of a couple places. She kind of was really supportive and things like that. And I joined some in Mexico,
Mm-hmm.
Ecuador, some different places. I
Mm-hmm.
almost went to Mexico. The only
Yeah, we have
reason
a huge population there of Black expats, so yeah, not surprised.
the
Mm-hmm.
only reason I didn't go to Mexico was because one, I don't know, it didn't feel right. Number two, personally, I didn't feel like they were doing as well as I would like with COVID-19, because that was a
Okay.
big thing for me.
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
also, at the time, I had travel insurance from when I was trying
Mm-hmm.
to go to Thailand, and it didn't cover Mexico. So I was like, I might as
Oh,
well take this somewhere I can actually use it.
yeah, yeah. And so once you decided on Ecuador, like what was the next steps, or what was the key thing outside the fact that they took your health insurance and you were part of this group, so you kind of had a little bit of a community, it seems like already.
hmm
Like how did you like getting a job or whatever? So like trying to figure things out, or did you just are you going to go there with savings? What was your plan?
So honestly, the first part was I want to give a special shout out to African Americans in Ecuador.
Yes.
It's led by Jewel Wren. She's amazing. She helped me a lot through this process. She helped
Okay.
me find somewhere to live. As far as the other parts,
Hmm.
from the time when I decided that I wanted to go, I started a job as a COVID-19 contact tracer. So,
Hmm.
and since my study abroad, I've been getting very, very dedicated to being very budget friendly, to being very
Yes.
frugal, trying to save my money. So
Mm-hmm.
luckily, I was able to kind of take that leap because I was very diligently saving. Like, I was like,
Yes.
okay, we can't go out to eat. We can't do this, like,
Mm-hmm.
because we want to go out to eat and do this in Ecuador or wherever
Yeah.
else in the world.
No, that makes sense.
So that was instrumental part for me was
Okay.
saving and being able to have at least some type of security until I could find something. I'm
Yeah.
actually now in Manta, Ecuador. I'm teaching English at an institute called Point Institute. It's been
Okay.
pretty good.
Mm-hmm.
It's a great experience. I'm meeting so many great people, but I am still looking for another part-time work just to supplement my income a little bit more. So if anyone has
Absolutely.
anything out there, let me know.
Yeah, yeah, definitely.
So
This is a bright young lady. And what did you major in? Like, what's your background or interest in regards to like a remote role that you'd be looking for?
honestly, I'm open to anything as of right
Mhm.
now, just because I'm just fresh out of college, but my degrees are
Yes.
criminal justice and political science.
Oh,
So,
nice.
but I'm pretty much open to anything. I
Hmm.
like to try new things. So
Yes,
just
I'm sure
let me know.
somebody out there will hear this word, and you all be sure to reach out. I've tagged Amina's handle. It's Amina's underscore adventures. So if you all have any leads, please reach out. Make sure you make the soft intro.
No, thank
Um,
you. Thank
yeah,
you.
and
Thank you.
and so it's good. Well, one thing that I wanted to point out is that it is very brave to move abroad because you had not been to Ecuador before.
Yeah.
And so were you just stepping out on faith? There were other people. The Facebook group kind of gave you, I guess, some level of maybe a little bit of assurance, like I should be okay for all else. I have somebody out there who knows where I'm at and where I'm staying.
If I'm being honest with
Mhm.
you, I still to this day I don't know how I ended up in Ecuador. And the
Uh-huh.
only real answer I can give you is I followed my gut. And that's the same
Okay.
answer I have to
Mm-hmm.
why I left the United States. Just
Mm-hmm.
something in me told me to get out, and something in me just said, okay, we're going to Ecuador. Like, I did the
Yeah.
research, I looked into some things. I actually had a list at the time where I
Mm-hmm.
wrote all the countries that were accepting US citizens at the time.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
And I wrote them all down, and I was like, okay. And I was just like, I was about to sit down and do research off of
Mm-hmm.
everyone, and I was like, no, let's just do Ecuador. So I
Yeah.
just went for it. And seeing the Facebook page and seeing the
Yeah.
community stuff there was very helpful. But it definitely was a following my gut type of
Yeah.
decision.
And sometimes you do have to do that. And plus, you had some preparation and you had saved, which I highly recommend for anyone because, especially during these times, so many things are happening and things are changing overnight. It's good to have a safety net. So,
Yes.
once you got there, your settling in process, visa process, are you there tourist visa? Because I know sometimes, like when I went to Portugal, I was there initially on a tourist visa, and now I'm waiting for my long term visa, residential visa, to go get approved. But there's all these
Mm-hmm.
different processes. So what would you say was like, how did you navigate that part of it?
So I looked into Ecuador and like what I needed and things like that. I
Hmm.
decided because in the beginning I didn't want to make a quick decision, so I was like, let me just go there and see how I like it.
Yes.
Obviously, I'm here, I love it, but
Yeah.
I came on a tourist visa.
Uh-huh.
As of right now, I'm hoping because my whole goal last year was travel the world, just go everywhere and anywhere.
Hmm.
So I'm still hoping to do that. Hopefully next year, something to that extent.
Yeah.
But right now, I'm still on a tourist visa. That
Hmm.
guaranteed me 90 days, and then I can
Hmm.
extend it one more time.
Yep.
So we're gonna see where that takes me. But I'm honestly considering making Ecuador like my home base. Like I said, I
Yes.
still want to travel,
Yeah.
but this place has really become like somewhere great for me. And
Yeah.
by doing that, I'll probably be doing a professional visa, which I would have to get my university documents
Hmm.
apostilled. I don't know.
Yeah.
I always say that word incorrectly.
No, I've never heard of it either until I had to get my FBI background check apostle from the U.S. Department of State. Yeah. So there's
Yes.
a part of the process when you're applying, but they'll let you know online what that process looks like, and it's 6 to 8 weeks. I may or may not have called them and cried to get mine earlier, but I'm just saying you gotta do what you have to do when you are trying to get out. And
Yeah.
so whatever it takes to get what you need, your documents in time. I don't have 6 to 8 weeks like to be here, so I'm in Michigan right now, my mom's house, so waiting
Okay.
on my approval for my long term stay. So
That's
when you guys
exciting.
like, once you realize that you're going to be there, somebody asked a question about Spanish, and where in Ecuador are you? You're in Manta. Is it called Manta?
Yes, I'm in
Mhm.
Manta, Ecuador. It's actually It's a coastal city on the coast
Mhm.
of Ecuador, by the
Mhm.
beach.
Mhm.
But it's a great area. Pretty, I would say, pretty modern. Like it has pretty much anything I would need. But I'm
Mhm.
also right near the beach, which is really great because I love being
Yeah.
by the ocean.
Yes.
And regarding Spanish, I
Mhm.
came here with like a little bit of Spanish. Like I knew how to
Uh-huh.
say
Mhm.
hello, like
Mhm.
hola, how are you, good night, good morning. That's
Mhm.
about it.
Mhm.
And I took Spanish in high school, but I mean, I feel like everyone takes Spanish in high school, and
Same.
you
I
forget
can say like
everything.
three words.
But
Mhm.
my Spanish has definitely
Mhm.
progressed. I'm
Mhm.
still trying to become conversational and to work
Yeah.
on it more, but definitely being here, having to speak Spanish because I'm in a Spanish-speaking country has
Mhm.
definitely helped my skills in learning Spanish.
And so, with the process of like everyday things, do enough people speak English that you can get by? Or are you using like a translator app? How are you getting around?
The funny thing, which I kind of, I guess, marks like how much Spanish I've learned, I haven't used my translator in quite a while.
Oh, nice.
Um,
Okay.
But when I first was here, yeah, I have a Google Translate. I had like a couple words and things of like I had a little notebook that I put like
Mhm.
places I need to go. So like, because
Mhm.
even if I would say the word, I'm also
Mhm.
like, I'm not from here, so I don't have an accent. So people would still not understand me. I'm like, I need to go here, and they're like, what? And I'm like, I'm reading it through, so I can show it to them.
Yeah. No, that works.
But um, but yeah, like every day, like now for the most part, like I feel pretty comfortable ordering
Okay.
food or
Mhm.
at the very minimum pointing at the picture. But I
Mhm.
wouldn't say a lot of people speak English here. I definitely think like people want to speak English,
Mhm.
and I like maybe pretty much all my friends speak some amount of English.
Okay.
But I always try to like at least get into there with the Spanish because that's the only way I'm going to learn it.
Yeah, it's the only way to learn. And you kind of do get spoiled when too many people speak the English because then you don't end up having to practice it because that's what happened to me. So
Yeah, I
yeah, I
definitely
wasn't I
agree.
wasn't really forced to learn it because I mean enough people spoke English. Yeah.
And that's the thing I talked about in one of my videos. Is like I struggle with sometimes like finding a balance. Like there's
Mhm.
definitely times the language is very overwhelming. Like by the end of the
Mhm.
day, my brain is tired. Like
Mhm.
it gets a little bit harder. But
Mhm.
I kind of go back and forth between I don't want to keep myself in English speaking spaces, but also
Mhm.
sometimes Spanish speaking spaces are a little overwhelming. So it's
Yep.
kind of finding that balance of okay, like go do this, but you need to like push yourself and also still try to learn the language as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's something I would need to work on too, because yeah, it just enriches the experience once you actually know the language, I'm sure.
Yes.
So, one of the things that I'm really curious about, how are you treated there as a black woman? Like, how have your racial interactions seemed so far?
Um. Okay. So there's a couple of things there. Number one, I will say, there's a misconception. There are black people in Ecuador.
Mm-hmm.
In Monte, Ecuador, on the coast, where the city I live in, not as many.
Okay.
But if you go to Esmeraldas, the
Mm-hmm.
province here, you'll see people that look like just
Just
like
like
me,
you.
like dark
Yeah.
skin.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe their hair's a little different, but like
Yeah.
black people.
Yeah.
Um, as far as me personally, I feel like the identities that make me who I am, being black, being
Mm-hmm.
like wearing my hair like natural, like
Mm-hmm.
being like more of a plus size girl, I feel like they're more appreciated here than I experience in
Mm-hmm.
the United States.
Nice.
Like even like walking down the street, like people are either like nice and like
Mm-hmm.
want to like say something, or
Mm-hmm.
sometimes people are a little like curious or like, hold on, where's she from? But a
Mm-hmm.
lot of times people don't know where I'm from until I open my mouth, which is kind of
Exactly.
interesting to me as
Yeah.
well.
Mm-hmm. No, that's nice. Because I know sometimes there is a misconception that we aren't represented globally in different spaces, and it's like we're here, and because of the slave trade, we're everywhere really.
Exactly.
So like you said, they don't really acknowledge or recognize that you're not from there until you say something, because the locals there do will look like you still.
Yes.
Yeah. So when you think about like your longer term plans and in regards to like, is this something where you, like you said, you mentioned to be your base, but are you interested in this being like your base, but maybe eventually even being an expat in another country?
Um, that's a question I don't know the answer to, only because I feel like sorry, I had to turn the light on
No,
because
no, no worries.
just so the viewers know, just right before this, my ring light broke, everything. So
It's
we're adjusting
okay.
now.
It's
um,
okay. We can see you. We can see your beautiful face. You're fine. Yeah.
um, what was I saying? Oh, regarding, I
Mhm.
think at this time, I'm pretty much open to anything because I feel
Mhm.
like, if anything, what this process, what this journey has taught me is that you never know, like,
You really
what next
don't.
year would bring, whatever. Like,
Mhm.
so when I think of my life, like, when I think about my life a year ago, I would have never seen myself just
Mhm.
moving out of the country during a global pandemic and like
Yeah.
a revolution taking, like, all this
Mhm.
different stuff.
Mhm.
So I honestly, I try to just like see what happens. I am a little
Mhm.
fearful. I don't leap as much as I wish I should, as I wish I did, but
Mhm.
I really see my life wherever I'm meant to be or whatever it feels right. That's where I hope I am at the time.
Yes. And I mean, I think also too, like trusting your gut is really powerful and your intuition. And normally, it'll let you know what direction and things will fall in place as well. That's why I think it's really powerful to speak things into existence and put them out into the universe so that,
Mm-hmm.
the things you do desire to do can start to fall into play. Maybe not on the timing that you may think it's going to be, but it happens. Trust me. I learned that from my
Definitely.
grandmother. It's really powerful to write things down and to put them out there, but take some action as well, right?
I
So now
definitely
that you're
agree.
there and you're starting to look at, thinking about, this being your base and things like that, what is the thing you look the most forward to as a part of this experience?
Honestly, I look forward to just like meeting like so many different people. Like I feel like
Mm-hmm.
I put this on my page on my Instagram, but I
Mm-hmm.
think the thing, like, don't get me wrong, I love me some food. Like I love trying new foods. I
Yeah.
love like learning about culture, going new places, adventures. But I think really for me, what makes traveling so like um, such like so great to me is the
Mm-hmm.
people, like meeting
Mm-hmm.
people from different backgrounds, hearing their
Yes.
stories. And I think also it just also like helps you go on new adventures. Like you'll meet
Mm-hmm.
someone and be like, oh, I'm going here, I'm doing this. Like you wind
Yes.
up on a completely different path. So I think
Yes.
that's what I look forward to most, is just kind of trying my best to live in the moment and just go with the flow and meet people and hear stories and grow from it.
Yes, and I'm sure as people too see your story, I think it's important. I'm glad you have a YouTube channel and you're sharing on your IG as well because being so young, it is really inspiring. Because I encourage people like as early as you can get out there and explore. And I say that because as you get older, certain things start to fall into place, like children and your parents may be getting sick and things like that. So I encourage people who are younger, please go out, do study abroad where you're in college, do try to think about moving abroad. You don't have to wait till you're 30 and establish, like, you know what I mean? You can go as
Yeah.
young as 23, 24. So that's why I was glad that you were going to be on to share your story because I wanted people to see from that perspective that it is possible. And it's really not, like unrealistic or not tangible with the proper planning and resources and leverage your networks. Like you said, you were able to leverage a network on Facebook and help you get settled, help you pick housing. So, on the topic of housing, how would you say your housing there compares to U.S.? Because one of the biggest things people are concerned with when they're looking at budget and being able to afford moving overseas, especially fresh out of college, is like the cost of living. So, how would you say the cost of living rates compared to where you were in the U.S.?
I mean, so I guess to put in perspective, in the U.S. where I moved here from, which is a college apartment near the university, I
Mm-hmm.
was at the time paying about $650 a month, and I
Mm-hmm.
was one of four people living in that like apartment. We had just a kitchen, like simple
Mm-hmm.
things.
Mm-hmm.
I now live here by myself in like a nice condo that is not too far from the beach and very close to the mall
Mm-hmm.
for about $500.
Mm-hmm.
Like
And that's by yourself, not having to have a shared space.
exactly.
Yeah.
I definitely would say housing here is very, very affordable,
Mm-hmm.
but Manta specifically is a little bit more expensive than the rest of Ecuador. There's places in
Okay.
Ecuador you can get a place for like the fraction. This is a little expensive. Like I could definitely find somewhere
Or
cheaper, but I
cheaper.
wanted
Mm-hmm.
to be somewhere more centralized when I first came here. Since I never been here before, I was all
Yeah.
these different things. But you can definitely find like a nice apartment, maybe in like outside of like the busy areas, like $300-400 easily.
Yeah, which is crazy. That's like utilities and like data plan somewhere else. So
Yeah,
yeah.
That's
And so for
definitely
people
true.
who have that concern around the cost of living, it's like, well, just find somewhere with a reasonable cost of living so you don't need as much saved, to get started on that expat journey. And you can
Yeah.
save once you're there, depending on your remote job. And the
Yeah.
the job that you did find, how did you find that job? That allowed you to make an income while you were there.
Yeah. One thing I will say about cost of living, I will definitely like encourage people to, because there are definitely places I could have gone that are cheaper than Ecuador. Like,
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure Thailand is cheaper than Ecuador,
Yeah.
but not.
Hmm.
But I will definitely say that there's other ways, like even if you don't have a lot of money, because one of the things I
Hmm.
thought about, I'm like, okay, worst case scenario, like I lose everything, someone steals all my money, I'm
Hmm.
broke, I have nothing, what would I do in this
Hmm.
situation? Number one, I would suggest to people is find someone you trust that either that can help you or has some type
Hmm.
of funds, or you can like leave a certain amount of small money just to get you back home or something.
Hmm.
Or also like things like Workaway. Workaway is something I looked into that was that I said like, okay, if everything went to crap, this is what I will do, which is
Yeah.
a great resource to where you can kind of exchange working for a few hours a day for housing and sometimes food.
Oh,
So
nice.
that's a
Is
great
that the
way to,
actual name of the website, Workaway?
yeah, Workaway. I
Okay.
don't know if it's .com or not. I
Okay.
will put it in the
I'm sure people
comments.
can Google it, yeah, but that's good to
Yeah.
know. Okay. Yeah, because I want people to have like some practical resources for some options too. And make sure you
Yes,
have a
definitely.
credit card you can use internationally.
Yes, that was
Yeah.
actually a funny story. The night before, like literally a couple hours before I was supposed to leave, I
Hmm.
specifically got a Charles Schwab debit card because
Yeah. They
it
don't
was
charge international, or they
international.
refund you. Yeah.
Yeah, and
Hmm.
it was like all these great things. I lost it the couple hours before my flight. I was like turning everything over. And that's something that some people be like, I'm not going because I
No,
mean,
no,
like,
no. It's
I don't
okay.
want to like spend all this money, but I
Hmm.
definitely would suggest getting a Charles Schwab debit card. It's really great for
Hmm.
traveling and things like
I
that.
use it too. I co-sign on that, and they do refund you if the ATM or international fees are charged. So yeah, it's
Yes.
really great. I haven't had any issues with them. So how did your family feel when you got to tell them like, "Hey, I'm moving overseas and I'm moving to Ecuador"? I'm just curious because that's not a commonplace, and you're young. So what was their response?
Okay. Everyone in my
Hmm.
family, I won't say everyone. There's probably some people that are like, okay. Like my uncle Mike, he was like,
Hmm.
whatever. He was like, you go do what you want to do.
Hmm. Hmm.
But my mom, my grandma, like so many people, they were not going for it. They were,
Hmm.
they were. My mom's best friend was telling me like, "Do you know how much crime is in Ecuador? Like,
Hmm.
it's dangerous." They were trying to tell me anything and everything, and it just be like, my mom was
Hmm.
like, "Why don't you just wait till COVID's over? Wait a year or two?" And I'm
Hmm.
like, "No, mom, I gotta go." And I'm glad I did. And I think the thing that got me through that period, because sometimes I think when you listen to your family, you can start second guessing yourself. Because at the end of the day,
Yes.
they love you and they just want the best for you.
Hmm.
But I kind of remembered when I was going to study abroad, I got a lot of those same reactions like, no, you don't need to go there. What are you doing that for? My mom was like, I don't know if it's safe. Like, my mom admitted to me, she didn't believe I was going until like, I told her probably in like December when I was about to like, when I was like planning it. Not
Hmm.
until about maybe like April when I bought my ticket. She didn't think I was
Oh
actually
wow.
going. She was like,
Hmm.
I was hoping you were just go forget it. And
Hmm.
I was like, nope, I'm going.
Yes, and you do have to. It's hard because these are people you really care about, and their opinion matters. So like them
Yes.
not necessarily being like woohoo and cheerful about it, it makes you nervous, and you have to drown out those. Because that's other people projecting their fears, and it's not because they don't care, they don't love you. It actually is the opposite. Like they do care, they do love you, and they're nervous. But that's coming
Mm-hmm.
from a place normally of they're scared and projecting.
Mm-hmm.
But it's something that I encourage people. Like you just have to, it's a faith walk, but the experience is really rich, and worthwhile, and the longer, even the hard parts of the journey, like I have to say, were worth it in the sense that like I learned something from it and I feel like I grew. So yeah.
Yeah, I definitely agree because at the end of the day, like I said, I love my family, but there's something that was just like, no, you just need it. You just need to do it. Like, I don't know, like it was hard because
Yeah.
sometimes, especially with the pandemic happening, that was a big
Yeah.
fear of mine. And also just like I was going by myself.
Yes.
Mind you now,
Yeah.
when I did go study abroad, because I wanted to save money, because I don't come from money.
Mm-hmm.
I had to, like, I didn't go on the group flight with everyone else. I bought my
Mm-hmm.
own flight, and I had a
Mm-hmm.
20-hour layover in China, and I had to
Mm-hmm.
figure that out. So
Yeah.
that kind of prepared me, because I was in Thailand for about a week before my program actually started.
Okay.
So that kind of prepared me, but nothing really prepared me to just go live in a new country by myself. But
Yeah.
like you said, that faith, that intuition, whatever it is, it's kind of what I think guided me and helped me through it.
Yeah. And once you get there, you will find that like the universe will align you with the right people. And of course you'll meet some weird people every now and then, but for the most part, I found like in my abroad experiences meeting really great people who have helped me build community and helped me feel a level of comfort. Because there are times when you do get the loneliest part of the process for me was the prep for moving abroad because people don't understand the process really so much.
Yeah.
But once I actually got there, the first couple of months were rough, and then it was like I found community, and I was fine. I rarely got
Mm-hmm.
homesick, so I don't know like what your experience has been so far about that. But how easy have you found it? I know you had that Facebook community, but once you actually got on the ground, like because of COVID, you guys probably not being able to link up like you normally would. Have you been able to build community or make friends or even date or anything like that? People always ask about dating, so I always throw it in there.
For me, I think when I first got here, so when I first got here, there was no requirement to quarantine, but I was going to quarantine for
Okay.
2 weeks because I was like, I don't want to come here and get people sick, and then everyone
Yeah,
around
totally
me hates me.
understand. Mm-hmm.
But everyone was like, why are you doing that? You don't need to do that. And I realized that I'm like, yeah, I'm in a new country. This probably isn't best for
Mm-hmm.
my mental health just to sit in an apartment for 2 weeks from a
Mm-hmm.
place I've never been before.
Mm-hmm.
For me, I think it's kind of putting myself out there. I try my best. Like, I met one of a really great friend. He owns like a beauty supply store here. And the way I met him, I was like going around like the first couple weeks I was here. I was trying to like buy different things and figure things out. No
Mm-hmm.
one spoke any English. I didn't know much Spanish. They were
Mm-hmm.
getting like it was very stressful. And I walked into
Yeah.
this one place. I'm like, okay, a beauty store in Ecuador. Let me see what this is about. And
Yeah.
I tried to speak my little Spanish. She's like, do you speak English? And I was like, yes. He's
Yes.
like, oh, I speak English. I'm like, oh my gosh, thank God.
Yeah.
And he's been a great. I've met a lot of great friends through him.
Yeah.
I think just kind of being out there, and also a part of the time I was here, about 2 weeks in, one of the retired couples I lived with, their daughter came to visit. And
Okay.
we're both young, and there's not a lot of, she's also Black, so there was not a
Yeah.
lot of people my age, Black,
Mm-hmm.
things like that. So I was like, okay, they're like, go explore, go have fun. So I think that really helped me too, because I
Yeah.
was able to do things I wouldn't traditionally do by
Yeah.
myself. Because
Yes.
while I do take chances, I do take leaps, I also am aware that like where I am, I have to be cautious. I am
Yeah.
here like
Absolutely.
solo traveling. So it was
Mm-hmm.
really great to have a buddy, and she kind of like, her being here, we were able to go do things I probably usually wouldn't do, go meet
Mm-hmm.
people. And that really helped me to get more comfortable and see like, okay, like I'm able to be aware of my surroundings without
Yes.
having to be scared of my surroundings because I have someone
Mm-hmm.
else here.
Yes. That's right. And how do you feel from a safety perspective? Because in the U.S. that was always been a big thing for me. Whenever I've lived by myself for a long time, and then when I moved overseas, living by myself and had a roommate. Either way, I would walk around at night by myself, and I wouldn't do that in the U.S. So how is the safety there as a female and as a Black person?
For me personally, I don't. I never really went outside at dark unless I was going to the library,
Mm-hmm.
or things like that. And even then, I would take some type of sort of transportation.
Mm-hmm.
Here, I don't really go out by myself at night. If I'm with friends or I'm with like one or a group of people,
Mm-hmm.
I feel perfectly fine. But I haven't had any instances, knock on wood, where
Mm-hmm.
I felt like threatened or unsafe.
Mm-hmm.
You mentioned dating. I will mention like, I think definitely like many here, from my experience, from, I don't just want to I can't think of the word.
Caveat.
Yeah, whatever. This is my experience, but men here are not afraid to tell you if they like what they see. So like,
Yeah.
I've been catcalled and things like that, but it's very
Yeah.
different than my experience in the U.S. In the U.S., I
Mm-hmm.
feel like there's always this like level of expectation, or I'm a little apprehensive, or it's just like
Mm-hmm.
very awkward and I don't feel
Mm-hmm.
safe and uncomfortable.
Mm-hmm.
Here, it's like either they say whatever. Half the time, I don't know what they're saying because
Yeah.
it's in
I
Spanish,
know.
or if I do, I either if I don't feel like being bothered, I just go on by my way and that's the end of it.
Mm-hmm.
Or I'll just be like, oh, thank you, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But that's one thing I definitely have noticed. Like, it's not, I don't, the level of safety that I feel here is something I haven't experienced in the U.S. I definitely felt as well more safe in Thailand than I did in the U.S. as well.
Yeah. And I hear those sentiments echoed by many women and men who are abroad. So, not surprised. Do you know anything about like the healthcare system there, or have you had any experiences?
Yes, healthcare is so much more accessible here.
Mm-hmm.
I've actually gone to quite a few doctors so far.
Mm-hmm.
I'm hoping to maybe go to more. I just recently got insurance here, but
Okay.
like for example, just to give you guys some numbers, most specialists you can get your appointment for $50 out of pocket.
Mm-hmm.
I actually have a video on my YouTube when I chipped my front tooth on
Oh
a granite
no.
countertop. That was fifty
What?
dollars to get it all repaired.
But you
Um,
said $50 to get your tooth repaired? Oh
yes,
wow. Okay, yeah, I'm sure
and
that's
this
very
is
reasonable.
this is like a night, like you would think you're in the United States, how like it's a very like clean, nice
Mm-hmm.
office. Um, I have a primary physician. She comes to
Mm-hmm.
your house. She
Oh,
only charges
nice.
between $40-$50 for a visit out
For
of
a house
pocket.
visit? That's really good.
Yeah, so I would
Yeah.
definitely say healthcare is a lot more accessible here. Actually, prescriptions and things like that a lot more
Okay.
accessible as well.
And so is the house visit by the primary care physician something that is because of COVID, or is this because of that's just what that's an option that you have normally?
I'm not 100% sure, but I have
Mm-hmm.
heard from others that some doctors here do house visits. I think my
Okay.
specific doctor, she had a office,
Mm-hmm.
and then she got rid of it, so now she does only house visits. But
Mm-hmm.
I won't say it's common because I don't know for sure, but I won't say it's not it's not like
It's not
um,
uncommon
a,
though. I mean, yeah, yeah.
exactly, yes, yes,
Okay,
yes.
that makes sense. But even then, I mean, just to have a personal doc visit, I would expect it to cost way more than that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's
And
why I
then the
say.
healthcare that you had to secure, was that a hard process to get? Because I know some places it's like if you don't have a national identification number, you can't, leverage or use the public insurance. And then you have private insurance, you can just buy on your own.
That's the other thing.
Mm-hmm.
I haven't waited longer than I think 3 days, 4 days for an appointment for something. When I
Okay.
chipped my tooth, I went the next day.
Oh,
When I
wow.
went to the eye doctor, I
Mm-hmm.
went 2 days later. When I went
Okay.
to like the allergist, it was like a day later. So even
Oh,
that, and
wow.
here it's so easy. Like
Yeah.
everyone uses WhatsApp here, so you just
Okay.
message, you get the doctor's thing. I mean, you got to translate it. So I had to use Google
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Translate
I
for
had
that.
to do that for my hair appointments in Portugal.
You message them, and you're like, okay, I want to come in and see this,
Mm-hmm.
do this. They're like, okay, I can have you tomorrow, whatever day.
Mm-hmm.
You ask, okay,
Mm-hmm.
how much is a consultation? I let you know. And
Uh-huh.
also, the thing I like about here is usually if it's with a specialist, if you have a consultation, usually your
Okay. Oh,
follow
I'm
up
sorry.
isn't.
1 second. I know we're live. My sister must be here with the kids. Hold on. Sorry, guys. I'll be right back.
Hi, everyone. All right. Is the border open in Ecuador for Americans? Yes. To answer that question, the border is open. You do have to
Sorry about that. So
have
sorry.
a 10-day. You have to have a PCR. You have to have a COVID-19 PCR test to negative test to get into Ecuador, but
Okay.
it is possible for Americans to get in.
Okay. Awesome. Sorry about that. My
No
sister was coming over
problem.
with the kids. I forgot to tell her I was going to be live. Um, and then the next thing I wanted to kind of go into, because I think, of course, it's like healthcare, the visa process, all these like technical logistical things. But when we
Yeah.
talk about from an actual experience perspective, like what's been the thing that surprised you the most?
That's a hard question. I feel like my brain just flooded with things like,
Yeah, because it's it's like it kind of ties back to like sometimes you have common myths or preconceived notions about an experience, and then you get there and you're like, oh, this is nothing like that.
yeah, I definitely will say like every time like I've gone like anywhere, like even like I think the biggest myth for me, people say like, oh, isn't that place isn't blah blah blah. It doesn't matter where it is. It's like, isn't that dangerous? Isn't this place
Yes,
dangerous? And I'm
I'm like,
like,
what? You're in the
and
most
at the
one of the most dangerous developed nations in the world. Why are you so afraid for people to go other places?
Yeah, like, and that was like at the time I'm like, I'm in Las Vegas, Nevada. Like, this
Hmm.
place is dangerous. So I guess for me, like, just the level of like, I feel like I just feel a level of peace that I didn't have in the United States. Like,
Hmm.
I just feel, I always will tell people, like, moving abroad will never solve all your problems. Like,
Yeah,
there's still
never. It's
things
racism
that
everywhere. Yeah.
I don't even mean racism, but I mean
Hmm.
if you have mental health things, if you have
Oh
anything
yeah.
that you're battling with,
Hmm.
necessarily, I will never say like the answer to everything is moving abroad. But if one of the biggest problems you're having is the environment that you're in is not
Hmm.
conducive to the growth or the things you want to achieve or be, moving abroad could be a solution to you to be able to deal with the things that are
Yeah.
bothering you, to have the space, the peace, the energy, the time, whatever you want to call it, to
Hmm.
actually deal with it. Because I didn't think, I did not have that in the U.S.
Hmm.
So I think that's a big thing for me.
Yeah, one of the things, and I have to agree with that, is because I have a problem with setting boundaries. When it comes to like family things or anything going on with family or friends, and I kind of feel like I take everything on because you want to solve the problem. And I found that it was hard to create the boundary because I was physically here, and once I left, not that I was running away or anything, but it was like the physical boundary allowed me to create emotional boundaries also that were needed.
Mm,
So
yeah.
it does help me in a way I could have a clearer mind to work on creative projects, and I don't know if you've experienced that as well, because I didn't have as many distractions and I got to decide what I was being exposed to because I was in my own space.
Yeah.
Hmm.
And I think for me, like I didn't. I feel like that's a big thing too. Is like you don't realize what you're in until you're out of it. Like you don't
Hmm.
realize you're in a boiling pot till you're out of it, and you realize how hot it was. So I
Hmm.
feel like until I was out of the U.S., like even and I didn't have as much of this revelation when I went to Thailand because it's a little bit different. But
Hmm.
especially this time, I think you realize like all the different things that were going on and all the different like things you were encountering that you don't have to deal with. Like I don't have to
Hmm.
deal with like accessibility to fresh fruits and vegetables. I don't have to deal with really expensive
Yes.
healthcare. I don't have to deal with like
Yeah.
being afraid of the police. Like for like honestly, all my
Hmm.
friends tell me like if the police stop us, like they're not going to be bothered with you. Like you're American. You're like,
Hmm.
well, I should say you're a citizen because technically I
Yeah.
am an American. That's something I really have to work on. But
Hmm.
that's the thing for me. It's like there's so many. Well, I still have like struggles and obstacles. The
Hmm.
things, those struggles and obstacles that I had in the U.S. are not really here anymore. Like language
Hmm.
barriers, I can deal with that.
Yes.
Being afraid every time police pass me,
Yeah, it's totally
I don't want to deal
different.
with that, and I don't have to deal
Yeah.
with that anymore.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's one of the reasons for me leaving was just a source of honestly liberation. Like I
Yeah.
feel so much freer and just at peace. I love that you brought up the point about accessibility to not just to healthcare but fresh food. That was
Mhm.
such a big thing for me too, and you don't realize you're not eating fresh food until you start eating fresh food.
Mhm.
And how your body feels. And I was able to organically lose weight abroad, whereas I was struggling with it in the US, even with a
Mhm.
similar diet, but the actual quality of the food that I was eating, like natural food, being abroad
Mhm.
versus who knows what's in my food in the US. I could physically see the difference, even in my skin and things like that. So it's important, I think, to not just look at the financial benefits or things or implications or whatever. It's not always a benefit. Sometimes you go abroad, it's more expensive, but also think about like health wise, your mental
Mhm.
health and, fitness and things like that.
Yes, I definitely agree. I'm actually in the process now trying to this transition I think is a little harder because it is times of COVID. So some
Yeah.
things that like you can tell like when I'm just walking down the street, like I mean the world has been impacted by COVID. Like there's so
Hmm.
many like businesses and stuff like that. They're not really
Yeah.
open anymore.
Hmm.
But it's still a lively town, I would say. But like I'm looking for a gym right now and different things like that. And it's just
Hmm.
like I don't know what it is. Like I just feel like I've always struggled with like food and all that stuff, but
Hmm.
I feel like I'm slowly making steps or taking steps that are in the right
Yeah.
direction now that I'm here.
Yeah, absolutely. And I can echo those sentiments because I struggle with sweets and just eat way more than I need to. I have portion issues. I eat so much food for my like height and weight. I shouldn't eat as much as I eat, but
It's
yeah,
okay.
I was cooking more and then I was cooking healthier food, and so you start to lose, get your weight under control. So,
That's the
uh,
one thing that has
mhm,
been difficult for me here
mhm,
is
mhm,
And I don't know if it's because the food is different here, or like the some of the recipes and things like I'm used to eating in the US
Mm-hmm.
either are very expensive here or it's
Mm-hmm.
not as accessible. So like
Mm-hmm.
for example, like cheese. Like there's cheese here obviously, but
Yeah.
it's not the same. And it's also
Yeah.
just like, so I'm finding it a little hard to like, I haven't realized until I was here how much cheese was integrated into my diet before.
Yeah.
But I'm finding it a little hard to like get into the groove of cooking because, like I said,
Mm-hmm.
I was being very frugal. So like I didn't
Yeah.
really eat out much, so I was cooking
Mm-hmm.
like every day, and I actually started enjoying cooking. But
Yeah.
that's one thing I'm trying to overcome right now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because I also one of the things I struggled with was in Portugal. It was just certain basic things I couldn't find. I was getting frustrated, like the type of balsamic vinegar dressing, like like the one that's already pre-made. I'm like,
Hmm.
why can't I find it here? I'm like, this is so basic, but of course, it's my American standards. And then I learned how to make it on my own, and my homemade balsamic dressing is great, if I must say so myself. But
I've
you
been
learn to adapt. Even looking for like Mexican cheese, because I like to cook a lot of Mexican dishes. Just because not because I have any ties. And I couldn't find like Mexican cheese. You know what I mean? Like the kind that we get over here that's already pre-mixed up, shredded everything for you. So again, you
hmm
have to kind of get creative. But
yeah.
I know what you mean. It's like certain basic things. I couldn't find onion powder, which was annoying. Like they have onions, but I can't find onion
I didn't
powder.
even remember onion. I haven't. I just remembered onion powder existed. I haven't seen
Hmm.
it.
Yeah, but I'm just saying it's so funny how like you do adapt. Learn to adapt quickly, but
Hmm.
it's just one of those things where it's like certain conveniences that you do have to be like, oh man, I got to give this up. So what would you say has like been the hardest part of the journey?
I think for me, it's remembering. I think it's finding this balance between pushing myself and being patient with myself,
Yes. Mm-hmm.
because I took this journey because I wanted to get out of the box. I wanted to
Mm-hmm.
do something that would challenge me, that would help me grow, that would all these different things.
Mm-hmm.
But also with that, I have to be sometimes take a pause and realize, like, Amina. Like for
Mm-hmm.
example, I've only been here 2 months. Like certain
Yeah.
things, I'm like, why am I not doing this? Or why isn't my Spanish as like where it's wants to be? And I'm like,
Be
you've
kind
been
to
here
yourself.
2 months, and
Yeah, be kind to yourself.
remembering to be patient and like
Mm-hmm.
like it's going to work out. It's a process. Take it day by
Yeah.
day, but also not get too comfortable. And sometimes you
Mm-hmm.
gotta take the leap, or you gotta try something new,
Yeah.
or you gotta step outside your comfort zone. So find the balance between those two, I think.
Yeah, and also I think one of the unique things about anyone who's moving abroad for the first time during COVID, like you're moving during COVID. You're not moving during normal times. Things and resources that would normally be open, communities that would normally be accessible, all these different things that you would normally be able to do to help make the transition easier or you getting acclimated easier just may not be
Hmm.
available, right? Processes may take longer because places are not physically open. So when you think about all of
Exactly.
these things, it's like you do have to be kind to yourself because even the timing alone dictates like that certain parts of the process will be different because of these very interesting times and you just got to figure it out as you go.
Yes,
So we have
definitely.
about less than 10 minutes left and it does cut us off exactly at this 1 hour mark, I think. Even though the last time I did a chat on Friday, they let me go past the hour. So I don't know if they recently updated it. But
Maybe.
anyway, just in case, any questions, any additional questions from anyone who's in the audience? I do have a couple more on my end, but I just wanted to make sure if there's anyone on the chat who has some questions that I can address those also. And then I wanted to ask you, like, we kind of talked about the hardest part. What's been the easiest part of your experience so far?
The easiest part. I don't know why that's such a hard question.
No, whatever comes to mind.
I don't know. I think for me, the easiest part has been just like I can't find an answer to that question right now. I don't know why. I want to say like just kind of putting myself out there and meeting people, but I
Mm-hmm.
also say I have somewhat struggles with that because there's times where I'm like I feel unsure, and I think
Mm-hmm.
it's just also like when I first came here, I brought a lot of my like U.S. mentality. Like
Mm-hmm.
I would put myself out there, but only so much, and like because I'm like I don't know, this person may kidnap me, this person can do this, this, and
Yes,
this,
no, I know
and
what
it's
you
like
mean. Yes.
you're in like Monte, Ecuador, like you can like for the most part guns are banned here unless your police officer have like a permit or some type of like special like thing.
Mm-hmm.
So it's
Mm-hmm.
like like a lot of sometimes I'm slowly like trying to get out of the mindset of I'm not in that environment anymore.
Mm-hmm.
But I think
Yeah.
the easiest thing is just kind of like once I kind of figure it out, just try my best to meet people and just kind of
Yeah.
go with the flow. And it hasn't been the easiest, but I definitely think that's been like an instrumental part, I guess I would say.
Yeah. And I found it easier to meet people once you, like, whenever I travel alone, I actually meet more people than when I'm traveling with someone because
Mm-hmm.
there's this element of, I think other people too are disarmed when you're by yourself. So
Mm-hmm.
it makes you vulnerable, but it also makes you open at the same time, to meet other people. So
Yeah.
because you are relatively still new to this process, what advice, because one of the reasons I even have this platform is because I want people who are like borderline just thinking about it to really, really open up and say, this is something that I can do, right? I can move abroad and have a good life and, and live freer. Like, what advice would you give to someone who was thinking about moving abroad?
I think the biggest thing is number one, figure out why. Because I
Mm-hmm.
think the why is very important. Because
Mm-hmm.
for the longest time, I think I was very clouded in my thing because I was so focused, like, I want to go back to Thailand. I want to go back to Thailand. And then I
Mm-hmm.
kind of I'm like, okay, is my goal to go to Thailand? Is my goal to leave the United States? And I solidified, okay, I want to leave the United States.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess any advice I would give, like, once you're I feel like once you have a certain level of research and things on your belt, just go for it. Like
Yeah.
the worst that can happen, like I think that's what really got me through it. I played the worst case scenario game with myself. I'm like,
Mm-hmm.
okay, if this happened, what would I do? If this happened, what would I do?
Mm-hmm.
And for every fear, also for every fear I had for not going, I found this constant theme that I already had these fears. Like for example, I was afraid of COVID-19. COVID
Yeah.
19 was already
Whether you're
occurring in the
U.S. or
U.S.
you're Ecuador, you can get COVID-19.
I was
Yeah.
scared of, and
Mm-hmm.
actually, they're doing better here than the U.S. with COVID.
Mm-hmm.
I was scared of being alone, and I felt
Mm-hmm.
like I was in Reno, and all my family was either in Las Vegas or on the East
Mm-hmm.
Coast. I'm like, I already feel alone. So all these different fears I had, I was like, I'm already experiencing here. So why not
Mm-hmm.
take the leap and be somewhere that I want to be? Yes, I miss
Mm-hmm.
my family. Yes, I miss my friends,
Yeah.
but like I said, like you said, I don't think there's any better time to travel than when you're young because it's
Yeah.
the world.
It's
I feel
so
like it's more
important.
expendable. If
Yeah,
I'm using that correctly.
exactly. It is, and I encourage people who are younger to reach out to other people like such as yourself who have done it and taken the leap and get those insights from them, advice, tips, and just to have a community for support, right? Because you would understand more than me. Like I'm 35, there are certain things that are unique about our experience based off age alone. So,
Mm-hmm.
build that community and don't be afraid. If someone's on a chat like this, more than likely they're open enough to respond to your messages. So tap into these communities and into these type of platforms so that you can find the type of people who are willing to offer insights and just
Yes.
share. Yeah, because you'll be
I,
so surprised the type of community that you can build and the insights you can get that can help you while you're on your way so that you don't feel like you're doing everything alone.
yes,
So these,
please.
yeah, and so we have
Oh,
about 4 minutes left. Any tips, inspiration, or resources like that you've used along the way that you would recommend to other people who are either already abroad or who are interested in moving abroad?
like I said, my best friends when I was doing it were YouTube and Facebook groups. Like literally, all I
Yeah.
watched the months before I left were travel YouTube or
Mm-hmm.
anything travel related because I was like, I just wanted to see something other than the four walls I was looking at every day because of quarantine.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
Facebook groups, I think they're very great just because not only do you
Mm-hmm.
get to see real people, real
Mm-hmm.
life in that country and like hear about their experiences,
Mm-hmm.
but also gives you a little bit of taste of like what it is, what you may have to come when you move there, what
Yeah.
challenges people are experiencing.
Yeah.
So those would be my two biggest resources. Another thing than that, if there's something in you that's telling you like you want to move or something like that, like
Mm-hmm.
follow it. Like
Yeah.
what do you have to lose? Like, and if you do have things to lose, I think, remember that you can either come up with excuses or you can come up with a way to do it. So if you
Yeah.
really, really want it, if you really want to make
Mm-hmm.
it happen, I won't say it's for everyone because it's not for the
Yeah.
faint of
It's
heart,
not for
but you can find
everybody.
a
Yeah.
way.
It's not for the faint of heart. Say that. So, but no, that's really great advice, and I think you've given people like a lot of insights just to think about, not to let, because like I said, age is sometimes something that intimidates people, whether it's being older or younger.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like you can do it as well, and do with the proper planning and just doing your research and being open, because anything can happen. So leave the opportunity for some good things that come into your life.
Yes.
How can people get in touch with you? Do you want to share? I'll post your link to your blog, but anything else that you want to promote that you're working on or doing?
Right now, I mean, follow me on Instagram. I'm
Mhm.
actually in the process of trying to get into like getting more of my life and like, cause I feel like my goal is I want to get more people to look like me. Cause what that's the
Mhm.
one thing I've really struggled with trying to find
Yes.
other Black young women that were on
Yes.
YouTube or things like
Mhm.
that. There are some. I will not say there's
Yeah.
not any,
Yeah,
but there
yeah,
are
yeah,
some.
but not as young as you are. Yeah, most are a little bit older. So I could imagine that was difficult.
So I definitely
Mhm.
would say I did start a YouTube channel, so you can
Mhm.
find me on YouTube, Amina's Adventures. My Instagram at Amina's underscore adventures. I don't even know on Instagram. And
Mhm.
if you're thinking about traveling or moving abroad or anything like that, please reach out to me. I want to build a better network of
Yes.
other people that are traveling and living abroad because I think that's important too to help, like you said, the loneliness or sometimes you feel alone in it. So if there's anything I can help anyone with, please let me know. Reach out to me on Instagram or anything like
Yeah.
that.
And I appreciate that. And also for anyone who joined late, if you know of any opportunities, like remote working opportunities for a bright young lady, send those along to Amina. Would love to get her plugged in. And of course, I'll be on the lookout as well. But just
Thank you.
thanks a lot for your time and your honesty and transparency. I really appreciate it. And I'm so
Thank you
glad we
for
got a
having
chance to
me.
share your story because I know there's someone out there who's going to benefit from it.
Thank you so much. And
All right.
whoever's out there, you hear this, this is your sign. You're looking for a
Yeah.
sign. It's your sign to
If you're
do
looking for a sign, this is your sign.
it.
All right, awesome. Next Saturday, I will have on Anjali and Eve. Anjali is going to be covering her time in the UAE, and Eve will be covering her time. I think she's in Bali now, but originally it was somewhere else. So looking forward to that chat as well. Join me. I'll post the details on probably Thursday or Friday. But thanks, Amina, and
No
I'll be sure
problem.
to post a replay and to put the link for your YouTube channel so people can follow you on that as well.
Thank you
Take
so
care,
much.
everyone.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.